From crime to growth to infrastructure to the latest on the Charleston County School Board, I talk one-on-one with State Representative Joe Bustos of House District 112 for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. State Representative Joe Bustos, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you, Quintin. It's good to be here.
Well, I appreciate it greatly. You know, you have been a member of the South Carolina House of Representatives, representing House District 112 since 2020. Let me ask you this. What's new, what's now with House District 112?
Well, we have a number of things going on. I've pre-filed a bit. I didn't pre-file. I filed a bill last year for crime to look at gang violence and criminal enterprise, and that didn't come out of the Judiciary Committee quite yet. So I'm hoping the second half of the term that we're going to see that. Also, education, as you know, the school board and everything has been a topic of discussion, and so I've pre-filed a bill to establish a system where the IG or the Department of Education will go down and look at school boards and offer them help wherever possible. We had a big turnover of members of the school board this year, and I think they're struggling just a little bit with the new superintendent and on their meetings and things like that. So, hopefully that will give them some help. And then in conservation, we have a lot of developments coming up with septic tanks in Ondaw.
Oh, yes.
We have a lot of communities that are close to the water that have old septic tanks. And our Mount Pleasant Waterworks has a system of inspecting septic tanks, doing maintenance on them, and making sure that they're good to go and they don't leak. And we need to do that so that overflow from septic tanks won't get into our groundwater. And then I think the last thing is going to be judicial reform. I've been receiving some calls from attorneys who want to be judges who don't feel that they're treated fairly by the Judicial Review Committee, and that sends to the House and the Senate a list of people that they recommend. And, I know when I go to the State House during session, you park your car in the underground garages, and geez, those poor judges or people that want to be judges are trying to ambush you on the way from your parking lot to your office or into the State House, and that's demeaning to judges. That's just not something that should be happening. These judges are supposed to be held in very, very high regard, and I don't think we're doing the right thing with our process for appointing judges. Perhaps the governor should appoint judges and then have the advice and consent of the House and Senate. But I just think there's a better way to do it than having those poor guys have to slide around in the parking lots trying to talk to people.
I want to get back to that in just a second, but you obviously mentioned the Charleston County School Board, and as you know, you penned a letter to the governor requesting the state inspector general, as you just mentioned, to investigate the Charleston County School Board. Obviously, you're chairman of the Charleston County Legislative Delegation, and you said the inquiry request follows recent controversial actions, as we all know, taken by the school board, including placing the district's new superintendent, who's now the former school superintendent, on paid administrative leave after only a few months on the job. And I know that you want to also look at some recommendations on how to help them, obviously. So what recommendations have they sent to you all so that you can help them out from a legislative standpoint?
Well, we've met, Representative Stavronakis and myself met with the acting superintendent and and at the time the chairman, and we told them our concerns and we offered our help, but we need to wait until for a little bit until they get their feet on the ground and can ask for something that is meaningful. Um, I said to them that you know in my experience in both business and in the military, that when you made someone a commander, or in this case a superintendent, you gave them the authority and the wherewithal to do their job and then get out of the way. And if they couldn't do the job, then you had to come back and mentor or counsel and get them moving in a positive direction. And then if they couldn't perform to the standard that had been articulated when they were hired, then you could let them go. But unfortunately, this last case cost the taxpayer nearly $350,000 and didn't get a thing for their money.
When you were meeting with the acting superintendent, I believe Anita Huggins, and former Charleston County School Board Chairwoman Pam McKinney, what recommendations did they give to you all?
Well, they didn't really give us any recommendations. We were offering our support.
Yeah.
We were offering our experience as far as guidance, and certainly Representative Stavronakis has a lot of experience. He's an attorney, and he made just we were trying to make conversation and draw any questions out, and now we need to wait and see what they're going to do with that offer of help. Now, we haven't had any request yet, other than please give us the support of the legislative delegation as we try to move forward, which I assured the superintendent that we would do that, and that if they needed anything, that we were there to help. But as I looked at it, I thought that it would be good to have the IG or someone go down and periodically look, make suggestions. It's not a gotcha kind of thing, but make suggestions that they could use to improve what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, the IG in the Army, the Inspector General, came down periodically and did inspections. That was a routine thing to make sure that Army regulations, a local policy was carried out. And then if it wasn't, they gave you an opportunity to bring it into compliance and then move ahead. And if you didn't take advantage of that opportunity, then you might get fired. But I think we need to do the same with the school board. We need to have someone identify all of the local policies and state law that has not been followed and tell them how to come into compliance. And then when they do, they're good to go. If they don't, well, that's another matter.
So when you look back at, obviously, the hiring of the former superintendent to his, firing, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, what local policies did this school board not follow in your mind?
Well, I don't know that it was so much a local policy, but I think it's a good managerial technique, as I said, to tell the individual what's expected of them, give them the left and right limits, and then give them the authority to do it, give them the wherewithal, the money, the support, and then, like I said, get out of the way. And then if the individual cannot perform to the standard that you articulated to them to begin with, you bring them in, sit them down, and talk to them about what has not been done correctly, and then send them out to correct things. And you can do that. You don't. That's not an unlimited opportunity, but give them several times to try to correct things. And then if they don't, and you've counseled them, and you've given them guidance, and you've done all those things, and you've right up front tell them what it's expected of them, they don't have an opportunity to go back to the office. If they can't do it, they can't do it.
Yes, sir. And so when you spoke to them and you gave them these, I guess recommendations, did they at least take you up on the offer of having an inspecting general to come down and do inspections?
Well, that is, I asked the governor to do that. And the governor said, we're not there yet. So, we just didn't have the opportunity to have the IG come down and point to the things that had not been done, that needed to be done, and should be done going forward. So, that's one that I think that we just didn't do the school board any favors by not identifying local policies, state law, and those things that they hadn't followed, and then tell them to move on. We just hadn't gotten to the point that we had given the superintendents the guidance that he needed to do things the way the board wanted it, and then to give him wherewithal and get out of the way a little bit. So, and that just comes with experience, and I think with a new board with a lot of new members, it just didn't gel very fast.
And now that the superintendent has been obviously fired, Mr. Representative Bustos, what more questions do you have for the Charleston County School Board and the new chairman?
Well, I think we're here to help. And first and foremost, the priority needs to be the education of our children. I mean, that goes without question. And then we need to help support the school superintendent. And if things aren't going right, we need to have someone there, and that's why I suggested the IG could come down, and it's not with a view of trying to fire anyone. If someone asks me, what are all the school board directives, state law, and policies, I don't know. But if we have the IG that's their business, they can go down there and coach and help the school board become more productive. And I think that would be a good organization to help coach and assist them moving forward.
And what else did you offer to the school board and the former chairwoman?
Well, it was open-ended. We didn't offer specifics, but we just said whatever you need, whatever you think we can provide to you, let us know, and we'll see if we can do it.
Let me turn over, obviously, to another controversial topic, which is in almost in your backyard. That is, and as you know, it's the issue going on right now with the Alpha Palms and parking. This is coming from WCBD. It says some people are saying that the parking plan approved by the South Carolina Department of Transportation in 2015, which established the resident-only parking zones, need to be revoked. The parking plan that was approved in 2015 eliminated a significant number of free parking. The approval was unpopular among the Charleston Beach Foundation, as you know, a group that advocates for more public access to beaches when it was first approved. But now that plan is getting renewed pushback by some people. As a matter of fact, Alva Palm City Councilman Blair Harn provided a statement to WCBD that reads, in response to Myra Jones' letter, who's a part of the Charleston Beach Foundation, letter to City Council dated November 27, 2023, full council has not been hasn't had an opportunity to discuss it. However, Ms. Jones' continued attempts to characterize the Alva Palms as not residential friendly, not tourism friendly, not visitor friendly is nonsensical. The Alva Palms provides 8 times more public parking that is required by the South Carolina Beach Front Management Act and more public parking per mile of beach than any other community in South Carolina. Ms. Jones has previously taken her grievances to the South Carolina courts and has lost. In my opinion, there's nothing more than another attempt of Ms. Jones's to attempt to ignore the laws of South Carolina and the attempt to force her will on Charleston Beach communities. Let me ask you this, Mr. Representative Bustos. Per the city ordinances, real estate rentals are only commercial zones. So how can you have residential only parking in commercial zones?
Well, there are a lot of things here. One is, we can't go downtown Charleston and rip out all their paid parking, although they have apartments and a number of residential areas around the city. Now, Isle of Palms has grown. Mount Pleasant, in my lifetime, has grown from a town of about 3,000 people to nearly 100,000 people. And when everybody in Mount Pleasant wants to go to the beach, there simply is not enough parking to accommodate everyone. I mean, there just isn't, unless you were to, last year someone came up with the idea of bulldozing the houses along the front beach and putting parking there. Well, that's ludicrous. You can't do that. And the towns, I think it's the town's responsibility. The town is out there, the municipality is out there cleaning and marking and policing all those places, not the SCDOT. So, the home rule, and I'm a big advocate of home rule, they need to be given an opportunity to try to manage that. To simply say you have to have free parking for everyone who wants to go to the beach, I don't believe you will ever be able to obtain that. They tried shuttles to go over to the beach. People didn't want to carry all their coolers and beach stuff on a bus to go to the beach. And in the article you just read, it said that the Isle of Palms has provided much more parking than is required by the beach parking plan. This is just, it's something that's going to have to be continually evolving. And the Isle of Palms, the people that live there, the people who manage that, are the ones who are going to have to keep working to try to accommodate all the people. They want visitors coming. They don't want to stop visitors because that would impact the town's income. But they can't just throw the door open and say everybody's welcome all the time, because people will come and they won't be able to get off the beach. I think the remarking of the Isle of Palms connector, allowing only one lane on and one lane off, did them a terrible disservice. I think that's not a good way to do things.
And I want to get back. Okay, yes, sir.
I was saying that's going to be one that's going to be constantly evolving.
Oh, yes. And let me get to the other side, which is the Charleston Beach Foundation. They said this quote: for Alva Palms to eliminate parking in those right-of-ways is wrong to begin with and probably unconstitutional. And this is coming from Michael Barnett, the parking advocate for the Charleston Beach Foundation. Let me ask you this, Councilman.
Well, I was that for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I've been doing Quintin's close-ups now for almost 12 years. But let me ask you, how much parking in those right-of-ways have been actually eliminated on the Isle of Palms?
Well, I don't know how much has been eliminated. I know with the short-term rentals
Yes.
and hotels and people going to the beach, there's a tremendous demand for parking along the right-of-ways to so people can get to the beach. But then people who live there, who live on the Isle of Palms, should have the ability to get to and from their homes and not have to climb over parked cars to get in. I drive around there routinely just to see how things are, and you see all manner of parking. Some are still on the pavement, some off the pavement. You're supposed to be off the pavement, and people struggle to get to and from their homes. Well, the good Lord just made so much beachfront property, and that's going. And our population here is going up and up and up, and the municipal governments are going to have to manage that. And I think that they should be given the opportunity to manage it. And if they need help, they'll ask for it. But I don't think the state needs to be down in there telling them where they can park. The state government doesn't need to be micromanaging parking inside beachfront municipalities. Now, if they came out and said there'll be no parking, that would be a different story. But they haven't said that.
Now, okay, going back obviously to the Isle of Palms connector, I want to ask you this. I know that Mount Isle of Palms Mayor Philip Pounds told me that a 2-lane on the Isle of Palms connector is a home run for everyone. Is it really?
2 lanes going and coming?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that's the way it was before. People can't get to the beach, but then again, they can't get off the beach unless they have more laneage. And then with center lane,
right?
There was emergency vehicles had a place that they could go, because sometimes people just don't move over, which they're supposed to in state law. And if they move over, we have walking and biking lanes on there that really aren't used that much. Now on the Cooper River Bridge, or coming over to Mount Pleasant, bicyclists and pedestrians share some of that laneage, and they could do it on the connector.
And this is probably a redundant question, State Representative, but would a physical barrier for the bike and pedestrian lanes be viable?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that. You don't want to cover up too much of the laneage with a barrier, because that would be counterproductive.
And going back to those, you mentioned the rescripting and everything of those parking, spots there on the Isle of Palms. How many of those have happened over the past couple of months?
Over the past couple of months?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay. And I want to go back over to obviously your particular district, District 112, because I want to ask you this. When it comes to obviously that growth that you just mentioned, and and the beach communities that are actually growing too, how should these particular municipalities grow with smart growth?
Well, in Mount Pleasant, when I was on town council, we established a growth rate, and then we issued permits to hold that growth rate, and that worked very well. In but it's a little bit different. And we also capped short-term rentals because homeowners associations didn't allow short-term rentals, which forced all the short-term rentals into the older part of Mount Pleasant. And that's because Mount Pleasant, down here in the old part, there are no HOAs.
Right.
So, those are the differences. And then on the island, they have the big houses that are rented as short-term rentals, and you might have several families with several cars come down there to want to rent those houses. And unfortunately, sometimes they're left out on the right of way, and
Yes.
the police come and ticket them, and I'm sure they've been towed and a number of other things. So that's a constantly evolving thing that the municipalities have to work on, and they should be given the latitude to do that work.
And let me ask you this then. What is the current growth rate in your district, 112?
The growth rate in 112 is probably a little greater than that. Now, I don't know. District 112 goes all the way out to Ondaw.
Right.
And there's a 500 home subdivision planned out there. We have a number of pockets of county within the town that are unlimited growth. I mean, they can grow as fast and with as much as they want. I'm going to say it's probably, all things and considered, it's probably about 3%. And 2% was considered very healthy when we did studies in Mount Pleasant. And Mount Pleasant's, having to work to manage multifamily buildings and that type thing. And each one of those multifamily units comes with, a couple of cars.
It does. Oh man, I'm running out of time, but I really want to quickly ask you about the town of Mount Pleasant, because as you know, the town of Mount Pleasant plans, according to the Post and Courier, to limit home building permits until 2029 in an effort to slow growth. So let me ask you this, State Representative, since you have your experience obviously on Mount Pleasant Town Council, what about incentivizing those denser areas of the town of Mount Pleasant?
Incentivize? I guess I don't understand your question. Incentivizing them to do what?
Those denser areas of Mount Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how should they, if, let's say, for instance, a developer comes in and wants to build, certain areas, certain apartments or homes there in those denser areas, how should they incentivize those folks?
Well, they need to have their growth rates. They need to have them published, and they need to have the zoning, planning and zoning, where they know exactly how many units they're going to get, and then hold it to that. And if we don't do that, it's going to be cars all over the place. And the other thing is, when you start looking at zoning and growth, you have to consider the infrastructure. And the infrastructure is not only streets, sewers, and water, but it's schools, it's police, it's firemen, and it's fire departments.
Yes, sir. And quickly, won't this particular plan just push development further up 17 to Ondaw, or up 41 past the Wanda River?
Well, I think it's going to go up there because of the cost of the land anyway. There aren't a lot of places in Mount Pleasant that are for sale and that are inexpensive.
State Representative Joe Bustos, thank you for your time here on Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, I always enjoy speaking with you, and please let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.
Oh, thank you so much.